Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dennis Brown. This is my weekly Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. So here's going to be the agenda. I got a question from one of my students who asked, how difficult is it to scale your freight brokerage to $50 million in sales? So that's what we're going to focus in on today. I'm going to share with you, I jotted down here 6 of the biggest challenges that you as a freight broker will run into when trying to scale your business to $50 million plus. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do some shout outs. So hit me up in the comments and the city and state that you're logging in from. Love to hear from you guys. Make sure you do that. Number 2, we're going to jump into the training. And then number 3, we're going to do live Q&A. So nobody's live yet, but I guess we'll see here in just a minute. Oh yeah, actually we do have a few people live on YouTube. So hit me up in the comments with the city and state you're logging in from. I'll give you some shout outs. We'll jump into the training and then we'll do live Q&A at the end. And again, I got a lot to go over here. Okay. A lot to go over. So welcome Henry from California. Welcome Brian from Independence, Oregon. Welcome Rick M. Yeah, from St. Augustine, Florida. Scott from Lubbock, Texas. All right. So we got people coming in from coast to coast. We got Caesar from Ocean City, California, I think, OC. Ariel from New York, New York. Awesome. Got people from all over the place. I'm sure that somebody from another country somewhere in South America or Europe or Australia or somewhere is going to jump in here. Welcome, Philip. Welcome, Ricky. How are you, buddy? Cool. So we're going to let a few people get live and then we're going to jump into the training. Okay. And again, what stimulated this topic was I got a question from one of my students. It's just an honest question. I've had similar questions in the past, but I figured I would make that the focal point because a lot of people talk about starting a freight brokerage, even myself, but very few people talk about scaling it. Okay. So I can speak intimately to that because I was very blessed, grew my freight brokerage to over $80 million a year in sales and then sold it. And since then, I've been focused heavily on training and coaching other people to do the same thing. So if you guys are brand new and you're curious about becoming a freight broker or freight agent, you can check it out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. The entire program, everything you get. And just so you know, we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. Okay. Oh boy, a lot more people. Branham from Kenya. There you go. Another country in the house. Matthew from South Carolina, Philip from Queens, New York, Corey from Billings, Montana, Chris from Minneapolis, and Grady White from South Carolina. Cool. All right, guys. So we got a lot of information today. Again, we got a page and a half of notes here that I have to go over, right? So let me grab a quick drink and then we'll dive right in. And again, if you stick around to the end, we will be doing live Q&A, okay? All right, cool. All right. Let me just review this really quick and make sure I'm. All right. So here we go. Warning. If you ignore the 6 challenges that I'm about to share with you when it comes to scaling your freight brokerage, you are going to make your job 10 times harder, okay, to grow your business. All right. So that's my warning to you. If you don't pay attention to these 6 challenges, it's definitely going to kick you in the backside. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share with you 6 of the biggest challenges when it comes to scaling your freight brokerage. And again, I shared this earlier, but this question came from a student who asked, Dennis, how difficult is it to grow your freight brokerage to $50 million plus in sales? So that's what we're going to focus in on today. I jotted down a bunch of notes. That's what we're going to focus in on. So I'm going to dive right in. Again, there's many challenges that you're going to run into in starting and growing a successful freight brokerage. A lot of people talk about how to start a freight brokerage. Even myself, I got a lot of training centered around that. That's what my Freight Broker Bootcamp program is all about. But very few people talk about scaling your business when it comes to a freight brokerage or freight agency. So that's what we're going to dive in today. I jotted down 6 topics. There's probably 60, but these are the biggest things that I think you're going to run into when it comes to scaling your business as a freight broker or a freight agent. All right. So here we go. Number 1, if you're doing $1 million or 5 million or 10 million and you're looking to 5x your business, right? You're looking to double, triple, quadruple your business in the next 12, 18, 24 months. That scaling process has a lot of challenges. And one of the biggest is maintaining quality and customer experience. Okay. So when you're small and you're a 1-man or 2-man or 3-man operation, and you have a lot of control over that customer experience, right? You're working directly with the customers, you're working directly with the carriers, you're doing it all. So you have a lot of control over that. But as you scale, maintaining that level of customer service is difficult because you're hiring new people, right? So that becomes a challenge. Training those people, retaining those people, right? So maintaining quality of a customer experience is something you really, truly need to focus in on. And it's one of the most important things you have to focus in on if you're focused on scaling. You cannot let your quality of service go down as you're trying to scale because it's like a leaky bucket. You're going to lose a lot of customers. And as you add customers and you scale your systems, you're going to lose customers. So you're going to kind of stay the same or even go down. All right. So that's number one. You have to maintain the quality of your service. All right. Number two, you have to manage rapid growth and operational efficiency. So what does that mean? Well, operational efficiency is critically important when you're looking to scale. Let me give you some examples. When you're in a startup environment, maybe you're doing $500,000, $1 million, $5 million in sales, your customer setup packet, your customer onboarding process is sometimes maybe a little loosey-goosey, right? It's not real efficient. It's not systematized. There's not a standard operating procedure. Same goes for carrier onboarding and vetting. Same thing goes for running credit on your customers. The same thing goes for financial management when it comes to collecting and paying carriers. So those processes as a startup are way less efficient than they should be typically. And in order for you to scale, you're going to need to focus in on those operational efficiencies. You're going to need to focus in on automating some of that. You're going to need to focus in on training. You're going to need to focus in on having a standard operating procedure for each of those processes. Otherwise, the machine is going to break when you try to scale. All right. So that's number two, managing rapid growth and operational efficiency. Number three, cash flow, right? Cash, you've heard it a million times before, cash is king. Well, when it comes to scaling, cash is not king. Cash flow is king. That means you've got to have cash flow hitting your bank account every day that you can use to fuel your growth, whether that be hiring people, whether that be marketing, whether that be whatever you need to invest in. That cash flow has got to come in. Obviously, the majority of the cash flow is going to come to paying your carriers on time, right? So managing that cash flow is really, really important. It's something that doesn't come inherently. As a matter of fact, I hate the accounting side of the business. It's something I never really, focused on personally. I always hired somebody to do that because I knew how important it was. And if I didn't like it, if it wasn't something I was, real experienced in, I knew it would be something that would fall to the wayside. So you have to focus in on that cash flow, whether you're using a factoring company or whether you've established a relationship with a bank and now you've got your own credit line. Whatever the case may be, you do need to understand your cash flow and you do need to focus on it, especially if you're going to scale. All right. Number four is you need to maintain the company culture, right? So I remember when I started my freight brokerage back in 2003, 2004, we had a very close, tight knit group. The culture was amazing. It was built upon helping each other, fostering growth. It was a phenomenal, time in that business that's very hard to replicate. And what happens is when you start adding a lot of people to your company, you go from 3 to 6 to 10 to 20. What happens is depending upon the time frame and depending upon the focus of the founders and the leaders in that organization, you can lose control of your company culture by hiring the wrong people, right? By not firing the right people, right? By not focusing in and remembering what got you there, right? So number one, having a strong company culture is very important. But number two, once you have that, you need to focus on maintaining that company culture. You've heard about it before a million times, right? You have to have a winning culture inside your business. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to retain talent. All right. It's going to be very hard to recruit and retain talent if you don't have a strong company culture. And that also bleeds over into your carrier relationships and into your customer relationships. Okay. All right. So that's number 4. But listen, stick around for number 6, because number 6, in my opinion, is probably by far the biggest challenge. All right. So stick around for number 6. That was number 4. Number 5. Number 5 is adapting to technological changes. Now, we've all been going through that as of late. Well, particularly in the last 20 years, since the internet has really started to proliferate and expand, technology has been enhanced. So we've had a lot of change and adaptation over the last 20 years. Some freight brokerages, some freight agencies have been able to adapt, and those people have thrived. Others who did not adapt have struggled and sometimes even went out of business. So adapting to technology is very, very important for obvious reasons, right? The business needs to stay up to date with some of the latest technology so that their systems and their processes can handle the increased demand, right? The demand that your systems, your software, your processes, your technology has when you're doing 10 loads a day versus when you're doing 100 loads a day is very, very different. So leveraging technology, adapting to technology, like, for example, AI, which is what all the software providers are doing right now. They're implementing AI and advanced learning and all these different technologies that are associated with, particularly with AI, and so they're adapting those and adding those into the software, and which for you as a broker or you as a freight agent is amazing, but you need to learn how to use these tools, whether it be carrier vetting, whether it be credit and financially related, whether it be load boards, whether it be rating, whether it be tracking, right? There's lots of advancements in technology over the last 20 years, but in particular over the last 12 to 24 months. Okay. So adapting to technology is very, very important. You don't need to be the first person, but you definitely can't be the last. Okay. All right. That was number 5, number 6. All right. I told you this is one of the most difficult. I told you this is one of the biggest challenges you'll ever face. And I'm saying that from experience. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 30 years. I've started many, many businesses. Most of them failed, but I was able to build 4 multi-million-dollar businesses in 4 different industries. Now, I learned one of the most difficult parts of learning this was hiring and retaining talent. Okay. If you want to scale, if you want to grow, if you want to have a big business, a $50 million plus business as a freight brokerage, one of the skills, the biggest focal point has to be building a team. Not only a team of doers, like brokers that are moving the loads, right? Carrier sales and shipper sales and accounting and all those sorts of things. Not just those people on the front lines, but also building a management team. Okay. So hiring and retaining talent is one of the biggest struggles when it comes to scaling, right? Finding the right people is hard enough. Retaining that talent is even harder. And of course, you have to focus in on training, and that's where a lot of the culture gets integrated. So, those are some of the biggest bottlenecks, some of the biggest challenges you're going to run into if you try to scale your freight brokerage to $50 million plus in sales. Now, obviously, the bigger you get, the bigger those challenges are, but you typically are able to start navigating those challenges, when you're doing, when you go from 1 to 5 million or 5 million to 20 million or 20 million to 50 million, you'll iron out those challenges. Now, as your business grows, you're going to have different challenges with scaling, but these are the 6 biggest challenges that I think any freight broker, freight agency is going to face when it comes to going and building a $50 million plus business. Listen, if you guys enjoyed this, hit the like button. If you have questions, hit me up in the comments. And listen, here's the reality, guys. If you need help, if you're looking for startup help, right? If you're looking to just get started as a freight broker, freight agency, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, had that program for over 15 years now. And again, we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. Now, if you're looking for more help with sales, right? If you're looking specifically with help with sales, you definitely want to check out my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. If I can find the link here, there it is. Okay, cool. Check out my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. That is my 8-week live Freight Broker Sales coaching program where I take that piece of my brain, I transplant it into your head. I teach you my entire Freight Broker Sales system that allowed me to do over $200 million as a freight broker. Again, those spots there's no available spots right now, but if you want to get on the wait list, just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist, and you'll be the first to get notified when new spots open up. And wink, wink, there's going to be some new spots opening up very soon. So get on the wait list. Appreciate you guys being here. Have an awesome day. I'll see you on the next Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Cool. So for the rest of you that want to stick around for the Q&A, hold tight. Hold your questions, okay? Hold your questions for just a minute. And let me grab a drink because I was talking really, really fast. And I think I hit everything. Maintaining quality, operational efficiency, cash flow, culture, technology, and talent. Yeah, perfect. Those are the 6. I mean, there are many challenges you're going to run into along the way, I promise you, okay? Challenges that you're never going to be able to think about. You've never even thought about before. But I think those are the big buckets that you need to focus in on it and just know about, just be aware of before you start scaling up so you can plan accordingly, okay? Listen, I'm curious. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know. Scale of 1 to 10, okay? 1 to 10. How valuable was this training for you, right? How was this the type of training that you want to see? What was the value? If it was terrible, say, Dennis, this absolutely sucked. It's a 1. If it was amazing and I hit the nail on the head and it's something that's extremely valuable, hit me up in the comments with a 10. Let me know. I'm just looking for feedback. I don't need you to placate my ego. I'm just looking for feedback because I want to make sure that I'm bringing you the best topics, the best trainings, right? And the best information to help you. Because listen, here's the reality. I've already went through this. I don't need to worry about it. I already scaled my freight brokerage to more than 50 million in sales. I'm trying to help you. So that feedback is extremely important. Cool. All right. Matthew says 10. Muhammad says so far so good. Let's see what everybody else has to say. 1 to 10. And if you want to share which one you think is the most valuable or the biggest challenge, right, out of those 6 I shared with you, feel free. Okay, cool. Good feedback. Which of those do you think, anybody who already answered back, with a rating 1 to 10, which of those 6 do you think will be the biggest challenge or has been the biggest challenge in your experience, right? Is it more maintaining quality of service? Is it more operational efficiency? Is it more cash flow? Is it hiring and retaining talent, adapting to technology, maintaining company culture? Which do you think it is? Give me a little bit of feedback there. And then we're going to jump into the Q&A in a minute, but hold your questions. People, yep. Retaining talent, yep. I would have to agree with you. That's one of the hardest. Finding and retaining top talent is one of the most difficult things in any business. In any business, okay? I don't care what industry you're in. Betty Jones, cash flow is her biggest problem. Julie, hiring talent. Yep. I know. I hear you. All right, cool. Listen, thank you guys for the feedback. I really appreciate it. Hit me up in the comments with any questions you guys have, whether that be about freight broker startup, freight broker sales, scaling, growth strategies, whatever it is, hiring people, training, whatever it is. Hit me up in the comments with any questions you have. We're going to jump into a quick Q&A and then we're going to go from there. Okay, cool. Henry, does AI really work for freight brokerages? What's the best AI for freight brokerages? Okay, so here's my philosophy on AI for freight brokerages. AI is not going to replace freight brokers. AI is going to enhance freight brokers. So what I mean by that is, if you're a good freight broker, AI is going to allow you to become a great freight broker because it's going to enhance your capabilities to serve your customers. All right. So there are lots of AI is creeping into all the different technology that drives freight brokerage, whether that be TMS, whether that be load boards, whether that be tracking, right? Whether that be carrier vetting, all of those areas, financial management, right? All of those areas are being enhanced with AI. So it really does work, but it's behind the scenes. It's not like they've created an AI freight broker that completely replaces a freight broker. I highly doubt that's going to happen, right? I highly doubt. I'd bet $100,000 to your dollar that that's not going to happen in my lifetime. Okay. So it's going to enhance and help facilitate and make good brokers, great brokers, and great brokers, phenomenal brokers, right? That's the reason why you have to adapt. Now, from a technological perspective, I can't tell you what's the best AI because there are so much AI out there that I can't even absorb it all, right? And I don't have access to all of the different technology because I'm not a broker, right? So I don't subscribe to all of the different TMSs. I don't subscribe to all of the different load boards. I don't subscribe to all the different technology providers that are enhancing their systems with AI. Here's what I can tell you. The one that I do know very, very well, okay? Good friend of mine, name's Tim Hyam. He's the CEO of Ascend TMS. And, we have a partnership relationship. We've known each other for many years. We have a very common backstory. He built his own brokerage. He built his own software, sold his company, and then took his software. And now he has one of the most successful and most respected TMS programs in the world for freight brokers, carriers, and even shippers. So yeah, that TMS, you can go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS and you can sign up for a free trial with no credit card. Okay. Here's all you got to do. The caveat in the coupon code, you got to let them know you're coming from my community and just put in the coupon code FBBC. If you do that, then number one, you're not going to have to put a credit card in, right? And you'll get access to the free trial. And number two, Ascend is going to send you a shipper list. They have a shipper database that they send out, as kind of an enticement or an inducement for you to give the free trial a try. But if you come from my community, they will send you. Now that doesn't come from me. That comes directly from Ascend. Okay. So I know them very well. They are integrating AI. They are integrating these advanced technologies. They're very innovative, right? It's the only one that I can personally recommend to you, particularly as small startup to small brokers, right? That may change when you hit 50 or $100 million in sales, right? When you do scale. But again, right now, that's the one that I feel comfortable with recommending that I know is going to fulfill the needs of any startup or small brokers. Okay. Hope that helps. Good question. Give me 1 minute. Okay, Betty says, I'm late coming on. Not sure if you answer this question. I did my first 5 loads last week. Woo! Nice. How soon do I have to pay my drivers? Do I need transportation management software? Not now with only 5 loads under my belt. Okay, I'm going to answer this in order. You did your first 5 loads. How soon do you need to pay your carriers, right? Well, you need to pay your carriers in whatever terms that you agreed to before you move the load. Most brokers have either a 21 or a 30-day credit term with their carriers. Okay, that's assuming that you did it direct. Now, if it's coming from a factoring company, then the factoring company is obviously going to pay them. They're going to make sure they're paid in time. But the credit terms between a broker and a carrier are typically somewhere between 21 and 30 days. Now, they may request a quick pay. They may want to get paid faster, but you need to establish those credit terms up front. And that's typically something that's handled inside the broker carrier contract, right? So hopefully you got one of those signed so that you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed. But yeah, so you'll pay them in that sort of timeline. The second part is, do I need transportation management software with 5 loads under my belt? No, you don't absolutely need to have software in order to move 5 loads. It's pretty easy to move 5 loads on a spreadsheet or in a file or on paper, right? You don't absolutely have to have a TMS. But now we're talking about scaling from 0 to, let's say, 5 loads a week. Will you need a software then? You could probably get away without a TMS. You're definitely going to need a load board. You're definitely going to need maybe some vetting software, those sorts of things. But once you start to get up to where you're doing 10 or more loads a week, you're definitely going to need some sort of software for a TMS. Now, you might need a CRM to track all of your sales activities. Most of this software is not going to break the bank. Now, that's coming from a guy who's invested well over $1 million in developing his own software. Me, personally, as a company and as an owner, have invested that much money in building TMS softwares and CRMs and different systems for my businesses. And so, yeah, if you got to pay somebody 30 or 50 or $100 a month to get access to really good software, it's a steal. It's a bargain. Trust me when I tell you. Will the TMS enhance your opportunity to be more efficient? Sure. But your first 5 loads, I don't think you absolutely need it. But when you feel like things are falling between the cracks, you want to make sure you fill those cracks quickly. And that TMS is one of the key things, because it's basically a workflow management tool that allows you to take the load from not covered all the way through to delivered, billed, and paid, right? So hope that helps. Great job on the first 5 loads. Scott Taylor, how did you develop the criteria to find and retain talent? Did you use professional headhunters, or did you interview candidates personally? Well, that's a great question, Scott. And the answer to that is yes. Okay. And what I mean by that is, yes, I did it all. Yes, I tried it all. And yes, I made tons of mistakes along the way. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Most people, most companies that are looking to scale, small companies, maybe you're doing $1 million or $5 million a year in sales, most of those companies avoid outside headhunters, recruiters. And the reason being is because they're pretty expensive. They can be pretty expensive to find and retain talent. So most smaller freight brokerages will actually go through the process of finding and hiring, finding, interviewing, hiring their own talent. There's no right or wrong. It depends upon you. If you're good at hiring, if you're good at sourcing, and you're the CEO of that business, or you're the president of that business, if you want to scale, that is one of the primary jobs that you now have, right? Finding and retaining top talent. So I'm a big believer in the founders, right, being very hands-on early, particularly early in the hiring process, until you fully understand what you're looking for, right? And you have well-established processes, and you have, training and development and retention strategies in place. So that would be my focal point. Once you've scaled beyond that and you've got those things, then you might bring on a third-party recruiter or headhunter of some sort, particularly when it comes to key management roles. Let's say you're hiring a vice president of sales, or let's say you're hiring a CFO, or let's say you're hiring, a director of marketing. Those types of hires are much more difficult than hiring a salesperson, an operations person, someone that does administrative responsibilities. Okay. So I hope that helps. I mean, I'm giving you a little bit of a brain dump here, Scott, but I hope that helps. I'm scrolling. Give me 1 minute. Mr. Seamus asks, how will tariffs and the current economy affect the amount of freight for brokers? Well, here's the thing. the tariffs are mainly focused on imports and exports, right? So the biggest focal point is going to be imports and exports. So and then secondly, it depends upon how quickly these tariffs are negotiated, because that's really what's happening. We're already seeing a lot of countries coming to the table and kind of backing down on these crazy tariffs. Perfect example, China, right? So I think that whatever happens, it's going to be very short-lived. I think that in the next 30 to 90 days, most of these negotiations are going to be done with all of the major players like India, China, UK, right? Some countries in South America, Canada, right? I think that probably covers 70% of the goods that we import and export anyway, just those handful of countries. So it's not like we have to negotiate every single country. So I think those are going to be negotiated pretty quickly. So there could be blips depending upon the industry you're in, right? Depending upon the country where your product's coming from. If your product is made in America and you're shipping to somewhere in America, well, then your product's going to be is going to struggle less. If your product is coming in from China, right, that potentially has the biggest opportunity to disrupt the entire supply chain, which you are a part of, right? So I can't give you an answer specifically, but I'm trying to give you a little bit of a framework or a little bit of a brain dump here on where my thoughts are when it comes to tariffs and freight for brokers. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, Muhammad says, I'm a carrier owner with 3 trucks and I joined the program to become a freight broker for additional income. Smart, Muhammad. Yep. Because here's the reality. If you're a carrier and you got 3 trucks, you can only move 3 loads at a time. What if your customer has 3 more loads that they need moved and they'd like to give them to you? As a carrier, you cannot legally broker loads or outsource loads to another carrier, okay, without a broker authority. But the cool part is you could double or triple or quadruple your income opportunity as a small carrier by simply learning how to broker, getting your broker authority and learning how to broker. So I think it's a no-brainer for small carriers. But again, you got to get a little bit out of your comfort zone. But kudos to you, Muhammad. Okay, Adam, my sales are at 2.5 million right now. Should I add an employee? I'm trying to scale, but need more time. Okay, so Adam, I'm going to assume you're a broker. Maybe you're an agent. Maybe you could do a follow-up and let me know for sure. But let's assume you're a broker and you're doing $2.5 million in sales. Number one, congratulations. All right. And you're running into what a lot of small brokerages run into. And it's not as much it's a scale issue, but it's not a scale to 50 million. It's a scale to buy back your time, right? So you can continue to get sales. So it's not like you got to go out and hire 10 people. Here's the very simple methodology that you can follow in the framework that will allow you to free up time so that you can get more customers. So here's how it works. You're a solo broker. Let's say maybe you're moving 5 or 10 loads a day and you're doing it all, right? I'm just giving a hypothetical. But what's happening is you're finding that you don't have time to sell. You don't have time to get new customers. You don't have time to do all the quotes in a timely manner for all your shippers because you're so tied up sourcing trucks, negotiating with drivers, dispatching, and doing all the operational stuff. So here's what you do. You as the leader of the business, you stay focused on sales and getting customers because you've already proven that you know how to do it. You hire an operational person. That operational person doesn't have to be a $60,000, $80,000 a year person. They could be young. They could be someone who has little or no experience, because what you're going to do is you're going to teach them the operational job and responsibilities from the ground up. You're going to teach them the simplest stuff first, like, doing check calls on carriers. You're going to teach them the simplest stuff like posting loads to the load board. And then you're going to increase their skill level. You're going to increase their scaling. You're going to increase their ability to do more work. And what that's going to do is that's going to buy you more time. So where you had no time to prospect, now maybe you have 10 or 20 hours a week to prospect and get new customers because you've outsourced, right, to your employee those responsibilities, which has in turn bought you back time. Okay. And then once you sell into that capacity and that person's really super busy, you can hire another one, right? And then that's going to buy back your time. And then you can hire another one. And that's a great way to go build your business to $10 million, right? It's a great way to get your business to 10 million, but if you're going to try to go from 10 million to 50 million, that's where you're really going to have to start building a team. That's where you're going to start running into more. You're going to run into some of these issues going from 2.5 million to 10 million, but you're really going to feel it, that 10 to 50 growth. Okay. So I hope that helps, Adam. Good. Congrats on you. And Adam, let me know if you're already a student of my Freight Broker Bootcamp or a Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Shoot me a message. Let me know. I'd love to chat with you about your business. Give me 1 minute. I'm scrolling, looking for questions. Okay. Hello, Dennis. I recently completed Freight Broker Bootcamp. Congratulations. Right now, I started to look for a job as a freight agent. Are there any freight brokerages hiring freight agents without experience? Yes. Okay. But here's the mistake most people make. They try to go to the top 10 or 20 freight brokerages, the biggest freight brokerages that are offering agent programs, right? Those are not the place where you want to go. You want to focus on smaller brokerages that have been in business for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years, who've already went through that startup phase. They've already built up their credit. They already understand, how to move the freight. They've already got some systems in place, right? So they've already got that in place, but now they're looking to scale up, and you can offer them, or maybe they're already focused on this agent opportunity, which allows them to scale without a lot of fixed cost and do it on a straight commission basis. So you need to focus on the smaller brokerages. I'm not talking startup. I'm not talking pre-revenue. You want to focus on someone who's maybe already doing $1 million or 2 million or 5 million in sales, right? A perfect example would be someone like Adam, who I just talked to, right? If he wanted to scale up as an agent business model, he's already doing $2.5 million in sales. He's already proven he understands how to run a small business. He's already got a lot of the things in place. And then he can plug you in if he wanted to do agents, for example. And then from there, now he gets the opportunity to scale and you get the opportunity to make money as a freight agent, right? So I hope that helps. I do have a full training. If you go to my YouTube channel and you search under my channel for Get Hired as a Freight Agent, there's an entire training where I walk through an entire framework that I'm not going to sit here and spend 20 minutes on. But if you do that, you'll love that training. It's great. Hope that helps. Thank you. Good question. Willie, as a freight agent, I'm in the steel business. Will tariffs affect me? We have a lot of domestic steel production, but we also have a lot of foreign steel production. We have a lot of import and export of steel. So it could potentially affect your business. You want to be prepared for it to affect your business. But here's what I'm going to tell you is the easiest way to understand if tariffs are going to affect your business long-term or short-term. Talk to your customers. Okay? If you've got customers in the steel business, they're the ones that are going to be able to tell you. If you've got a good relationship with some of them, start having those conversations. You should be asking them. You should be having those conversations. You should be focused on trying to figure out ways to help them to navigate these situations. That's what a partner does. So that is my best piece of advice. If you want to know if tariffs are going to affect your revenue, talk to your customers and have a meaningful conversation with them about what they're going through. And that's going to connect the dots. And if you connect the dots and you see that there's a potential of a large disruption, then you might want to figure out another niche that you can add, or another angle, or another opportunity to offset that downside in that industry with another industry that's maybe booming because of the tariffs. Okay. So I hope that helps. Latanya, yeah. Freight brokers do not need CDLs. CDLs is a commercial driver's license. Okay. That's what allows you to legally drive a truck, a commercial truck. Okay. So truck drivers and freight brokers are very different. We're intertwined and we are in the same industry, right? But you don't need your CDL to become a freight broker or a freight agent. Okay. The same way as you don't need, you definitely don't need it. All right. Hope that helps. So if you're curious about becoming a freight broker and you're looking for some help and you're looking for an online, self-paced, go at your own schedule type of online training, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Again, we've trained over 10,000 students. We've had that program. I've had that program since 2009, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. Good question, Latanya. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Seamus, what percentage of gross sales is typical for brokers to retain as profit? Okay, so if you're talking about gross profit margins, and you're talking mainly, let's talk about spot market brokerage, maybe predominantly full truckload, which is what most freight brokers do. The profit margins are typically going to fall between 10 and 20%. So that means that if you charged a shipper $1,000, just for easy math, you would pay a carrier, you charge the shipper $1,000 for a load from A to B, you would be paying a carrier between $800 and $900, which would give you $100 to $200 in profit on that load. Okay. Now I just did a study of the top 100 freight brokerages in the United States based upon their gross revenue and based upon their gross profit. And guess where the margins came in with the top 100? That was over $70 billion in freight spend. Okay. It came in at 14.99% based on 2024 revenue. Okay. So I know a lot of people think the brokers are making 30, 40, 50% on every load. They're not. Occasionally that happens. But then on the other side of the equation, you might lose money on a load if you don't quote it properly. But on average, freight brokers are going to make somewhere between 10 and 20%. You should focus on trying to make between 15 and 20. But again, mileage may vary depending upon the customer, depending upon the industry, depending upon what's going on inside the dynamics with fuel and supply and demand and everything that's going on. So I hope that helps. And listen, you guys have been a great group. Thank you so much. If this was valuable to you, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe and the all notification bell so that every time I do these lives or every time I release a new video, you get notified. I appreciate you guys being here. You were amazing. I hope you took some notes, but if not, replay. You'll be able to hit this on replay. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. And I'll see you next week on the next Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thanks all.